Hi, my name is Renee. Welcome to my YouTube channel and welcome to this video about work and career. In this video, I'm exploring the ideas of work and career and those ideas in the context of my life, as they relate to my life, what my work has looked like, my thoughts about career and career development. And I'll be explaining why I'm talking about that now, why this is top of mind for me, why I'm doing a video about this. So welcome to this video about career and work. I'm happy you're here. First of all, I am outside in my backyard. Technically, I'm not sure if I am still within my property lines or our neighbors, but basically this is my backyard, the woods. It is a little buggy this evening. The mosquitoes have found me, so I'm not sure how long I'll be able to last out here. I'll do my best. So why a video about work and career? For the simple reason that these topics are top of mind for me right now, where I am in my life, what I'm doing, and the ideas that are taking up the most mental space. So why are these ideas taking up the most mental space? Where am I right now that brings work and career to the forefront? I just finished an MA, a Master's of Arts in Educational Studies at Concordia University in Montreal. For the last year, I've been doing it remotely, but that's where the school is located. I'm not going to go too much into depth on what that program was about, but the thing I am going to say, as related to the topic of this video, which is career and work, is that I pursued that degree, which is a graduate degree, a master's. I pursued that as I don't know if tool is the right word, but as a step on the path, possibly a tool, but definitely a step on the path to bridge my experience as a homeschool parent of 16 years. So I homeschooled my kids for 16 years. Before that, I did a degree in education. I have ideas and thoughts. Excuse the bugs. I will be doing this while I'm talking. I have ideas and thoughts, specifically like a philosophy about education that I started to develop when I did my undergraduate degree, but really developed and practiced and lived into as a homeschool parent. So that's my background in education. And what I wanted to do in getting a master's in an educational field, there's different areas of study within education. There's definitely education psychology, and there's instructional design and educational leadership and ed tech, various programs, like lots of different things you could do at a master's level related to education. I chose ed studies. I'm not going to go into all that now. I think that's really the topic of another video. I did ed studies as a way to bridge the experience and education that I had for basically the first 20 years of my adult life. I was looking for a bridge from that to work related to education that would align or be in alignment with the philosophy that I had both developed and practiced as a homeschooler, and then explored and articulated and identified the philosophical foundations of during my master's degree. I just finished that degree. So of course I'm at the what's next stage, and I'm evaluating how and if that education, that experience, that track, how and if it did bridge me from that past experience to a work or a job related to education. That's still all to be determined, but that's where all of this is coming from. That's why I'm talking about it now. It is top of mind. Career and work are top of mind because of my recent degree completion, and also the work I'm doing now, and how that study, that degree does or does not align with what I am doing now and what I want to do going forward. I am now going to find a different location for doing this because the mosquitoes are out and I would like to just focus on communicating these ideas. So let's find another place to do this. I've been writing about career and work on my blog for at least a decade. And the irony of that is that I don't have a career in the culturally normative way of understanding work. And maybe that's why I've been writing about it all these years, because I'm trying to figure that thing out for myself. And that is definitely the truth. I am trying to figure that thing out for myself. Or in a culture where work is conceived, talked about, or I guess you could say where the discourse around work uses terminology like career to describe people's work. And so if you don't have one of those, but you still work, I mean, everyone works. Homemaking is work. Caring for people is work. So if you don't have one of those titles, it's kind of like, what are you and who are you in the broader society? And absolutely, this is connected to like the economy that we live in and to capitalism. Those are all subjects for another day, if ever, on here. All that to say, I think the reason that I've been exploring this a lot in my writing is because I am trying to figure something out here. Like I said already, I have recently graduated from my master's. So I have this what's next question in my mind. What is the work that I should or could or can find out of this bridge? Okay. Like I explained that this would be a bridge from the previous to the future. And now I'm at that future, but I don't know what that work is. I saw a career counselor when I was in Montreal. One of the student services at the university is career counseling. As a student, I can book an appointment with a counselor and to help me, well, figure out career stuff. It's hard for me to get my thoughts around this and to express myself. Part of the reason that it's hard is because my work experience doesn't map very well to, I don't know, I guess is there a normal work trajectory? I don't know. I feel like my experience and my interests and my mindset and philosophy about work and life don't really map very well to a standard, you get this education and then you get this kind of job and then you work at that kind of job and that job gives you fulfillment and meaning and it pays you. I guess, is that like the standard? I don't know. I feel like my experience doesn't map well onto that. And if that's the language that we're using, or if that's the framework that people use to understand and talk about jobs and work and careers, and I'm coming at it from a different perspective, it feels hard to match or line up those frameworks. Like if I'm coming from this one and this is the language that everyone's using over here, but I'm coming at it from over here, I feel like I have to work hard to express myself in these terms over here. When I'm really, this is what I think and how I process it, but I have to put it into something that could kind of, I don't know, be understood by other people, and so I could get the thing that I'm trying to achieve. So I prepared a document before going to career counseling to lay out where I was coming from, what I'm seeking, kind of like the who am I document. At 49 years of age, I have a pretty good understanding of myself. I'm very self-aware. I am very clear on my values. And I also have clarity around my life philosophy. I have a pretty good sense of what my skills are that are, I guess, transferable or applicable to the employment market. I don't even have the words for this kind of stuff. The places that people do jobs and get paid for those jobs. I have a pretty good sense of my skills. I don't always have a great idea of how to communicate what I can do and, yeah, what I'm good at in those like employability terms. I've been getting better at that through the years because I have been working for a few years already post homeschooling. So I'm getting better at that. What I was saying was I have a sense of these things about myself, and I wanted to prepare those in advance of talking to the career counselor so that they would be able to help me better. You know, if I'm able to communicate, okay, here's who I am, and here's what I want, and here's my skills, and here's my education and background, and what can we do with this, basically. I just wanted to be able to communicate that clearly, so I prepared a document. I'm going to grab it from my binder that's all about career planning, building, and reflecting. Yeah, I got a whole binder about this. So before I get into this, today is my video production day. And today I have on the calendar, I'm either working on video like content, or ideally I've already got the content and I'm going to edit it and produce it for YouTube. And this subject, like I said, has been top of mind. This is the thing I want to talk about. This is what I want to make a video about and what I want to explain and explore and share. So today I thought I would jump right into making a video. But before I was going to do that, I thought, well, I should write out a few notes that I wanted to say. And I started and I realized I wasn't ready to record this. I wasn't ready to talk about this. What I needed to do was write. And I actually spent most of the day writing, journaling. Sometimes I'm writing for the purpose of I want to be able to publish that writing, or I'm writing an essay and I'm either researching things or working on crafting the words in a way to be publishable. That's not the kind of writing I was doing. I was journaling. I was journaling in my dedicated career journal. I have a career and work journal. I've had this going, well, the date that I started this was last November. That's when I started this journal, but I have been journaling about this topic for a long time, and it's just shows up in various other journals that I have, and also in random sheets of paper, which I have kind of gathered now into this scrapbook. This morning, this is what I did. How many pages did I journal here? I did quite a few pages, as well as organizing this thing. I came to some, I would say, realizations in the journaling process by reflecting on what I had written for the career counselor and the career counselor's conversation with me, our session. I reflected on both my own document, my own writing that I had done to prepare for that, the feedback that I got from the counselor, and what's been going on in my heart and mind, really for years, but also since that session, which was like 2 weeks ago. That's what I'm going to be talking about in this video. I'm going to be talking about the notes that I prepared for the career counselor and how I have reflected on those ideas and come to some realizations since that time, and I guess where this leaves me now, where I'm at now. Let's jump into the career counseling document. Here's what I wrote for the career counselor. I'm 49 years old and I just graduated from a master's in educational studies. I've never had a career per se, and I'll explain my working background shortly, but I would like a meaningful, values-aligned, decent income-earning work trajectory that I can pursue for the next 15 years or so. I am coming to career counseling to get help identifying jobs and paid working roles or positions along that path. And then what I did was I kind of, I guess, summarized my work experience and life to date along a few headings or topics. So, first of all, I explained my work history. And I'm going to tell you my work history here. From the time I was 23 till I was 42, I was a stay-at-home mom. And before I was 23, I was a student. So I went right from being a student to being a mom. Being a mom and being a stay-at-home mom was the big thing I wanted to do. It was like, let's say, my career aspirations. But in our cultural context, we don't call that a career. The best way I've settled to describe it is like a vocation. So for like 20 years, about from 23 to 42, I was a stay-at-home mom. And most of my labor, like the things that I would do during the day, the effort, the work I produced in the world was related to that. For 16 of those years, I was also, let's say, actively homeschooling our 3 kids. I am a believer and an advocate for the concept of lifelong learning and learning outside of a school system. So that feels like an artificial construct to me, but we're working in artificial constructs all the time. But in terms of having to like report to somebody else, telling somebody else, hey, I'm not putting my kids in school because I am doing it with them, for them, I'm doing this in my home. That's what I mean when I say for 16 years I homeschooled our 3 kids. Those 16 years basically covers the time from when we started with our oldest till when we ended with our youngest. And we homeschooled all the way through from the time our kids were, I guess, kindergarten age, grade 1 age, until they were done their secondary schooling. So secondary being high school, until they were ready to go on to post-secondary. That's the length that we homeschooled each of our kids for. So during this time, my husband was, and he actually always has been, the primary income earner for our family. And I have done more of the domestic, emotional, and educational labor, which we both recognize and value as meaningful and important work. For me, it was extremely meaningful work, which has been part of my trouble and my complexity around career and work, because nothing has seemed as meaningful as that work to me. The care of family and home has been my primary vocation, which for nearly 2 decades also included the oversight and provisioning of our children's education. During these homeschooling years, I started blogging. In fact, I've been blogging for 20 years. So this was the thing I did in addition to my stay-at-home mom, homeschooler. I was also developing myself as a writer and a blogger and an online content creator. I did this work in a minimal freelancing capacity. It was like dipping my toes into paid work around, blogging and content creation, online teaching, that kind of thing. Blogging and the publishing online and the creating of online content. Most of that has been unpaid for 20 years. The way you do get paid for doing that kind of work is that your content, the things you write and produce and put out there, is a product or a service, or sells or contributes to the sales of some other product and service. And I didn't do very much of either of those. When my work as a homeschool educator parent was coming to an end, this was like 7, 8 years ago, and as our family desperately needed more income, these kind of were coming together at the same time. I used these online mediated skills and the capacities that I had developed, as well as my connections, to find employment. So the blogging history, the online writing history, to some extent that freelancing history and capacity, those are the things that I drew from to get paid work. 7 years ago, I started working part-time as a virtual assistant in content creation and promotion. And from that, my online work and freelance work has developed into being an assistant in marketing, customer and membership services, online content creation, and management. For the last 5 years, I have worked concurrently as a marketing assistant for a marketing software company and an operations manager for an online subscription membership site. My responsibilities in these roles, or for these two clients, have been primarily digital and social media marketing, non-programming website operations and content management. So I don't do any development of the website on a back end, like an HTML or CSS or whatever the programming that goes into doing those. I don't do that level. I take the platforms or the content management systems that we're using and use those to create the website and figure out ways to best manage the content and the sharing of that content. And also another one of my roles is member or user facing experience and support. So providing support to members of a membership site. This work that I do for these clients has tapped into and amplified, grown and developed specific skills of mine. For example, digital communication and people helping skills, and also analytical skills. Certainly not aligned with or related to my education, both most recently my MA in educational studies or my undergraduate all those years ago in a Bachelor of Education, and to the interests in me that drove me to get that kind of education and to pursue getting educated in that field. When I started doing the freelance work that I do, I didn't intend to make a career out of it, like to become a marketing professional, for example, or a customer service professional. I wasn't intending it to be like my long-term working trajectory, that I was going to work in these fields or these roles and capacities for a long time. My work was intended to be stopgap. Work that I could do while figuring out the kind of work I really wanted to do, while being in a program, an education program about education, while getting this degree that was going to help me also figure out the work that I really wanted to do and help me get to the work that I wanted to do. So the work that I have been doing was to fill in that gap, and namely the financial gap, right? To be able to bring in money while I was figuring out where I really wanted to go and what I really wanted to do. This freelance work and working for these clients and the type of work that I've been doing has been really good to do while I've been doing my master's. I guess ideally, it would have been great to be doing work in education if my interests are in education. But what was great about this work was that it did not demand a lot of emotional or mental energy beyond the hours that I was willing to give it and was also being paid for. And this allowed me to focus those mental energies on schooling. So what this means is the work stayed within the hours that I had set aside for it, and that I was paid for, and it just didn't occupy the other parts of my life, which were very busy with school and the other things that I do, which is I've continued writing, also started creating videos, as well as the homemaking and the just life stuff like moving and family life and just all the pieces of life. What I've loved about my work in the past few years is that it occupied its own little box, and that's where it stayed. And this allowed me the mental and emotional freedom to give mental and emotional energies to all these other things in my life. And that has worked really well for me. My strengths and skills from this work that I'd like to carry forward into other work are digital, visual creativity and production, empathetic and technical communication, detail-oriented analytical thinking and research. These are some of the things that I have identified and pulled out of the tasks that I do and the things that I do for my clients as what I want to carry forward into the next stage. Because there's lots of things that we do in all kinds of work, right? But especially if we are taking on or doing jobs to just fill a financial need and they're not as much tied to our values or our interests, we're going to learn things from that. We're going to take skills and develop things in those capacities that are going to help us as we move forward into doing the other things. And hopefully those other things maybe will be more aligned with what we want. There's been much that I've gained from what I've done. And so the things that I was just listing are some of the things that I want to draw and take with me from the work that I have been doing. And by identifying them as such, it also indicates that those are the things that I like doing in the work that I do. These are the things and the skills and the strengths that I feel good about and that I enjoy in that work. Okay, so where I've got to now in the going over the document that I prepared for career counseling is I'm about to launch into the education piece, because all of those ideas that I've just shared, they exist in one space of my life. And education, both my own education and my education practice as a homeschooler and my interest in education, that all fits under this big umbrella called education, which is its own thing in my life. And I'm going to go there next, but I am going to break for today because we're getting near the end of the day and I want to come back to this when I'm a bit fresher. So we're going to come back to that piece another time. So I am sorry to report that the focus on this outro is, well, actually not in focus. So basically the whole outro segment of this video, which you're about to see, I never did have the camera in focus and I was not aware of this while I was recording it. And this was the second time that I recorded because the first time I had problems with the audio and I had to re-record it. And then this second attempt, I am not in focus. I apologize for this, but I am not redoing it. The words are really the thing I wanted to communicate, although I have to say that this composition or the lighting in here feels pretty dreamy to me, and I'm happy with how it looks, except not with the fact that I am not in focus. So just listen if it bothers you too much. My apologies. In this case, getting it done is better than getting it perfect. I will see you on the other side. I've moved outside to record this video outro for a change of scenery because I was sitting in my office for the last 25 minutes or something. And again, it's still buggy. So I am, like I was in the intro, swatting away bugs. And so this will also be short. I wanted to, oh my gosh. Oh, wow. Northern flicker just flew on the other side, well, past the camera. That was gorgeous. That was amazing. Oh, wow. Okay, that was really cool. Okay, back to the topic. But really, who can stay on topic with the birds? Okay, topic. And the mosquitoes have found me. I've got to get this going fast and wrap this up. I've just been editing the video and it's already at like a half an hour or something. And the next thing I need to discuss, or the next thing that's in that document, is like that education piece. Like I was just sitting there in my office doing the bubble, the education piece. And it is a fairly hefty piece of the puzzle of my life, big part of me, really. And that needs to be in its own video. Not necessarily standalone, we'll see, but it can't be in this one because it's just too much of a topic to delve into. So the continuation of me walking you through and talking through the document that I prepared for the career counselor is happening in the next video. And there's going to be a follow-up to that document, which was what I talked about near the beginning of this video when I said that I sat down and I did a lot of journaling. I'm going to finish the career counseling document, which lays out for you the pieces of myself as I present it to the career counselor. But my journaling gave me a framework to conceptualize this whole thing. I'm doing this a lot, I've noticed, and swatting the bugs. It gave me a framework that I need for thinking about my work moving forward, my work and my paid work within that big picture of my life. So that's coming up in either the next video or the next video. And I don't want to get too ahead of myself here, and I'm not trying to create this huge project for myself, and it's really not. I've gone through the processing work, and what I want to do now is tell you where I've landed, or kind of where I'm at in the how I'm framing it, how I'm looking at it. Not like, and now I have my dream job. That's not what I'm talking about, but how I'm approaching the next steps that I'm going to be taking. And some of those steps are just, are not necessarily even action steps, but they are changes in perception or changes in how I am looking at things. But I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. That's for the future. If you have any questions about this topic, anything that you want to talk about or contribute from your own life and your own framing of work and career and your own experiences in that, and your maybe mismatch of how you think of these things and how it's framed in larger society and culture, and like I was talking about earlier, this like coming together thing and having to take on the language or the way it's talked about over here, but we are operating maybe from a different mindset. If you have experiences in that realm of trying to match those up or choosing not to match those up, I would love to hear that. The woods is just not a pleasant place to be on a summer afternoon. But overall, it is a wonderful place to live. That's all I'm gonna say. This has to end now, so we're gonna end it. I hope to see you next time. Thank you.